Let's so we are going to sing a song for the glorification of the Lord, and then after that, Radha Mother will sing also. With me, Abhay Charan will play the mridanga, and then we'll sing. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Giridhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Giridhari Jasodhanandana Brajajannarandana Jasodhanandana Brajajannarandana Yamuna Tira Vandachari Yamuna Tira Vandachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopinanda Vallabha Giridharadhari Jasodhanandana Brajajannarandana Jasodhanandana Brajajannarandana Yamuna Tira Vandachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Let's sing one more song and then we can, okay, small one. Go to that Prabhuji Bhaja. Slowly. Bhaja Hure Mana Sinanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Bindare Bhaja Hure Mana Sinanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Bindare Durlabha Madhava Janama Satta Sange Taraho E Bhava Sindhure Durlabha Madhava Janama Satta Sange Taraho E Bhava Sindhure Sita Bata Bodhi Edin Jamini Jahire Sita Tapa Bata Borisana Edin Jamini Jahire Bifole Sevim Kripala Durajana Chapala Sukhala Bhala Gire Bifole Sevim Kripana Durajana Chapala Sukhala Gire Yedhana Jovana Putra Parirana Ithe ki ache para Tire Yedhana Jovana Putra Parirana Ithe ki ache para Tire Kamala Jala Jala Jivana Tala Mala Ajaho Hari Padani Tire Kamala Jala Jala Divana Tala Mala Ajaho Hari Padani Tire Sravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dasyare Sravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana पाद सेवना दास्यरे पूजन सखी आत्मनिवेदन गोविंद दास पूजन सखी आत्मनिवेदन गोविंद दास रे श्रीनंदनंदन अभय चरण बिंदरे भजहुरे मन श्रीनंदनंदन अभय चरण बिंदरे भज भज रे मन श्रीनंदनंदन अभय चरण बिंदरे. Hare Krishna. Om Tat Sat. Thank you very much, Alai Jaran. For Natanga, thank you for listening. Thank you for all of you. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone again. Today we'll be having our wonderful class on Bhagavad Gita, reflections from various Vedic scriptures. And the topic I have chosen is very interesting, called The Impossibilities of God. So can you believe? There is nothing impossible, Prabhupada said, in the material world. Impossible is the words, likely Fool's Dictionary. But there are impossibilities in the hand of God. And it is teaching of Bhagavad Gita. I want to preach you how to become atheist, not to believe in God? No. We will know that impossibility is God, how by that beautifying God's potencies, isn't it? So today's topic is called Impossibilities of God. So please share those slides which I have prepared for a few of you, and then we can go back to the front page one. Okay, yeah, here is the one. So Wednesday evening program, today June 2nd, 2021. And this is coming from the Gita Reflections, Impossibilities of God. And I am possible at the same time. And we'll really hear some reflections on this topic. And it will be very mind-blowing that how Krishna spoke in Bhagavad Gita and Krishna's activities are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, and Krishna came in Kali Yuga as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and how he manifested his pastimes. So several such kind of topics we will deep dive into today's journey. So before that, I will start my humble obeisances and offering prayers to the Mangalacharan for an auspicious invocations for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to please him, to receive the mercy. Let's start. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yenai Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaham. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Sri Rupam Sagrajatum Sahagana Raghunath Nitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakha Nitamsa. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavanestari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vansha Kalpatarubhya Sasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti bhachalam pandum langhaiti girim. Yatkripātam aham bande Sri Guru Dinatarinam. Ishvara Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Devam. Harihi Om, Harihi Om. Okay, so as we spoke about the impossibilities of God, so if you go back to the slides, so why it is so impossible? Is there anything impossible for God? There is nothing in this world. Can he destroy the whole planet Earth? Can the whole water can be submerged into the whole planet Earth? Is there anything impossible? Can the mountain be shrink into dust? Can the sun be dead in a day? Anything and everything is possible in this material. So what remains for impossibilities? Am I telling you some secrets? This is the most confidential knowledge, but the insight of getting what exactly, why it is impossible, and what it makes sense for us to deep dive into those topics. So let's go to the next slide. Next. Okay. So really, do you believe there is an impossibility of God? I don't agree. Sorry. Let's see what can be. Let's try to explore what is impossible, right? So let's see what is the impossibilities in Krishna, in God, what you call the absolute truth. So if you see, and yes, good. Next. Yeah. So number one is I'm talking about Jiva. Does God become a Jiva or in ignorance? Is Krishna or God influenced by Maya? This is impossible. Can God become a Jiva soul? It's impossible, right? He, even though if he's there, he cannot. Even though if he act as the Supreme Lord, comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a Jiva Tattva to be a devotee, but still he manifested. He cannot remain that my position is gone and now I'm a Jiva soul. I forgot I'm God, then I have to apply for God's seat. It doesn't happen like that. He is eternally the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Isvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karan Karana. He remains there, even though whatever position he is. And the topic we will discuss more. And number two is eternity. So what does it mean, eternity? Eternal, Satchidananda, as I say. Could he kill someone? So it's impossible. Why? Now he said that he killed Ravana, he killed Hiranyakashipu. Yes, but did he kill his soul? So in other words, he can say it's impossible for God to kill really eternity because that is the God gifted qualities. Now we'll see what is impossible for the Lord. Number three is free will. Free will. Just like we'll give an example of Kal Krishna Das from Chaitanya Charitamrita, that why he fell down in the presence of Lord Chaitanya. It's a very interesting thing. I will go when I discuss about that particular item. So it's likely free will. And number four, and the last one is debt. Is he indebted to all of us? Is he indebted to, can God be indebted? Means I am applying for a home, I apply for loan. You apply for loan when you buy a car. You apply for a loan when you go for studies, higher studies, student loan, auto loan, home loan, many, many loans. So we are in debt. So God is complete. Om Purnamadam Purnamidam. So if he is complete in everything, what is the question of that he cannot repay the debt? Just like impossible to repay the love of gopis, impossible to repay the services offered by the gopis. So this is impossible task. So now you can by this first slides, you'll be convinced that what I'm speaking, nobody can challenge me. That Prabhu, yes, is possible God can kill me and you? No. We're Atma. Can God influence me against my free will? My free will that I wanted to go and enjoy in the ocean. I wanted to go and drive a car. I wanted to eat an apple. This free will, Krishna doesn't interfere in your free will. So it's impossible. So what exactly the offering? Whenever God gives something complete, 100% reward since time immemorial, that from that day onwards, you're all getting those facilities and benefits without any interruptions from the Supreme Lord. So it's very interesting. By knowing these details, then only will come to your consciousness, come to a kind of a positional thinking that the Supreme Lord is eternal. Supreme Lord has everything he can do predominantly, but there are certain things which he can know. By knowing this one, you will develop more love towards Krishna. So let's deep dive into one of these areas. So go to the next slide. Wait, okay. So go to the next one. Jiva. Impossible. So let's read a sloka from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. You can repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Prakriti Guna Samudha Sajjanti Guna Karmashu Tana Krishna Vibhu Mandan Krishna Binna Vichalay. So that means, bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. So what does it mean? I'm trying to emphasize about knowledge, about Gyan. Gyan means, which is talking about, whenever God comes, and even if you do not know, he will not be influenced by ignorance. But even though if it descended from spiritual world, either you are Jaya and Vijay, spiritual world, it descended to this material world, you are influenced with the Maya. Means you are influenced with the ignorance. That ignorance is the material modes of nature which is influencing your mind to detect, to identify who the Lord is. So similarly, what is the impossibilities? Even though God decides that I want to be fool, I want to be ignorant today, it's not possible at all. Is it possible? Even though he tries to be in a position, as he is showing us, when Krishna came as a personality, just like an ordinary human being, and the Asuras accusing him that Krishna is not God, he's just an ordinary human being and things like that, because they are not able to understand his transcendental positions. God came as a human being, but now is he acting as a human being, or is he lost his positions as the Supreme Lord? No, he never lost his position as the Supreme Lord. Just like many yogis, one time Prabhupada says in Calcutta, there is a devotee, a person who went to Ramakrishna Paramahansa or something, and they are talking about, knowledge transfer, and he gave the knowledge, and after that he's crying. Oh, why are you crying? Oh, I gave this knowledge to you, I lost it. It's not about giving knowledge that you lose. You lose because it is Purnavadam, Purnamidam, Purnasya Purnamadaya. So this whole concept of understanding about Krishna as a complete whole, Krishna is the supreme whole, and then understanding that the knowledge when you are distributing, in ISKCON we are telling people to distribute this knowledge, right? Distribute this knowledge to one and all, because by distributing this knowledge, susukham kartum apaya. That means Raja Vidya, Raja. So by this transcendental knowledge, the king of knowledge, ye pavitram, uttama. By knowing this confidence and knowledge, by distributing this knowledge, what you will get? Susukham kartum apayam. Means susukham means not only sukha you will get spiritual happiness double fold. And by showing this one, so there is no question of loss. So here, even if you see Prakritir Guna Samudha, in this section you can see Samudha. So here Jiva can be in a position of ignorance. That is clearly we have known it. But I wanted to reiterate, it's impossible for God even to decide that he wants to become a Jiva. He cannot. Even though he becomes that, then also he will be considered as a Satyavesa avatar or something like that. So God remains God at all times, both in the material world and in the spiritual world, permanently, eternally, in all circumstances, in all places of time, in all yugas, day and night, morning and evening, summer or winter, rain or autumn, doesn't matter. He remains there. So it's impossible to think, impossible for him also. It is impossible for God to also convert himself as being ignorant, showing as an ignorant. Go to the next one. So there is one particular verse also I just took some note how it is happening. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, patience, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mightier Marjana, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Is it very clearly mentioned? So go next. So in this purport, there is a beautiful one. Let me read it for you. The living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with this material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, he is acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Because living entity have different kinds of bodies in terms of the different aspects of nature. They are induced to act according to that nature. That is the cause of the varieties of happiness. So here, I just wanted to emphasize that living entity is always under the influence of the modes of mental nature. God is not. So there is a two distinct point. So this is impossibilities for a God to become a jiva like you and me. Even though he comes and mingles with us, still he is neither influenced by the modes of mental nature, nor he is dictated by any kinds of maya, which is the superior, the lesser energy, right? So these lesser energies, what is the Sakti? Antaranga Sakti, Bahiranga Sakti, Tatastha Sakti, the Bahiranga Sakti, which is the external energy or material energy. Even though it is his lower energy, he is not influenced. He is master of that all the time. So there is no possibility for God to become act like you and me. There is no possibility when they is created, because he remains in the spiritual world with the master. Material world also remains master of the senses as Hrishikesha, master of this nature. Also, he remains controller of the nature. So this is the first thing we understand: the impossibilities of God to become a Jiva soul. Now go to the next one, which is the eternity. Eternity means Sadhya Sanatan Ka, means continuous. It is no ending. There is no end point. There is no start point. There is no end point. There is no middle point. You can't find when to start, when it begin, when it end, when it's going to expire and terminate on eternity. So what does it mean? Let's read some of the things. Can God become temporary? So those are the things here you can see. Najayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutta bhavita mana bhuya ajo nitya saswato ayam purana nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Translation is: for the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So now if you take to God to say that, okay, kill someone, is it possible? Even though he said that, okay, I'm going to kill Balimardana Dasa, maybe my body is destroyed. God says, but technically people know that I was not killed. It's impossible. Then somebody can prove that it's impossible for God to kill anybody else, because they are eternal. If somebody is eternal, then how can he kill him? God himself is eternal. At the same time, an ant which is also moving around, right, cockroach or whatever small moth is moving around in your sky, in your room, even if you kill, now you can, in one way you can prove I killed it, but another way you can prove that he did not kill it. So similarly, it is impossible for God to also kill it, and also to God to become non-eternal. So here, if you see, because we need to understand what death means, what killing means. Na hanyate hanyamane sarire, is not slain when the body is slain. So this is the question mark. So anything in the material world you can see is possible against the law of God, contrary to this one, which can be twisting here and there. Technically, those who have vision, which is beyond this modes of material nature, they can understand the true identities of God. The question I am putting is, this is the verge of understanding the material thing. Material thing, when you know, oh, God is supreme, God has to be worshipped, God has to be praised, God has to be There's nothing impossible for God. That's fine. But now, in a court of judgment, we prove there are many things which is impossible for God. Impossible for God means killing. Jiva, he doesn't become Jiva. He doesn't become temporary. Can he become? Can he become a stone and destroy? From our perspective, yes. But in other hands, no. So now if you go to the next one, here, there is another beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita. Natvevaham jatu nasham nattam neme janadhipaha nachevana bhavishyama sarve vayam ataparam. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. If you ask God not to become eternal, it's like a question mark. What are you talking about? If you ask him not to become eternal, can you become non-eternity? Hello, God. Can you become non-eternity? No. The first verse of this Brahma Samhita can be refuted here because he's saying you're Satya, Sanatan, Satchidananda. Everything is there in you. Now the question is applicable to us also. But how does it difference between me and God? The difference between me and God is because I'm identifying myself as the body. My body and my soul are different. My soul is same when I change my body from a human body to a lion body. My soul remains the same, but my body changes. But for God, there is no change of body and the soul. His body and his soul and his mind, everything is spiritual, and they are not deteriorating. So here, if you see the eternity, the impossibilities are manifested here. Now go to the next one. Today I'm going to speak until 8 o'clock, and then half an hour we'll discuss more question answer. Okay, so maybe another 20 minutes I'll cover up those things. Okay, next one. It's a very beautiful verse. Mamupetya punarjanma dukhalayam saswatam napnubanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. Mamupetya punarjanma. Mamupetya punarjanma dukhalayam saswatam napnubanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. There is some green line. Sorry, I don't know why it came. That's the translation is, after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion and never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. 8:15. They have attained the highest perfection? Really? So if then, how come people are returning back if you say that if you are there back to Godhead, and it is impossible for God to send you back, but it is possibility is there? Or is it impossible? He's saying that somebody gone, but it is impossible to make him again fall into this one. So this is a very critical sloka to understand, because there are sometimes Prabhupada in different places, people asked, and this question is, how did the Jiva soul fall down from the spiritual world? And if he has fallen down, what is he can counteract the possibilities of this sloka 15. After attaining me, repeat it, after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. If they have not, then where are you before? You are not in the spiritual world then, but it is said Prabhupada is back to God. So what does it mean? Because initially we are with God. So how did you fall? If you fell down, why did you go back? So these impossible things. Is it for God to be impossible? Or possibilities there? So it's very difficult. It may give you contradictions in both the end and make it tribulations of your mind. Now let's go to the next one. Let's understand in all dimensions of thinking. Go to the next one. The eternity impossible. So eternity impossible means, the chicken or egg theory. Chicken or egg theory is sometimes it is said, okay, Krishna is there, and after the Radharani was born from him and expanded Lakshmi and all. So what point, what is the time factor the Radha was born? And before that, what God was doing? And if it is eternal, so what was Radharani is doing and why it took birth? Why she took birth and why she appeared in different forms? Now, if you ask the question here, what is exactly impossible for God? Is it possibility for God to kill chicken without the egg, or start with the egg and make the chicken? Which one is the first stage of transformations? Materially, you can see differently. But in spiritual lesson, who has created? God. God is himself the creator. Then he created. Then did he mean that when he created Radharani, before that, there was no spiritual world, there was no Radharani? How it happened? So it's a, now you will end up in the loop. This is called endless loop. That who has fallen into and how this thing come into picture. So this is, if you see, then you will see these are all impossible things. You are bringing the notions about the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. But now, if you cannot resolve in your mind the chicken egg theory, you'll be still troubling. My God, no, I can't get it. Then you'll blast your mind. But thing is that it will be still clarified. No matter what, chare dekho, just like it is said, Jaina tena prakarena manakrishna niveshita. Somehow or others, I surrender my mind onto the lotus feet of Krishna. So now if you go to the next one, free will. I talked about this previous one is eternity means, which is about can God kill someone? Can God create someone? Can God did something? So we understand the second question. And we talked about these things. Free will. Free will, impossibility. Do you know free will? Let me read one verse from 18.6, so you'll be having some idea. Etani api tu karmani sangam tyakta phalani tu kartavyanti me partha nischitam matamuttamam. So, all these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectations of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty or sanaprita. That is my final opinion. So what Krishna is saying? Krishna himself is saying many times in the slokas of Bhagavad Gita, mati, nishchitam matam uttamam. Matam means this is my opinion only. It doesn't say this is factual. This is truth. So what does it mean? Because he has given you a free will, means you accept it or not. That's why God never interferes, never enforces, never push you down. I am the God, supremacy, surrender unto me. No. Demands, it says it. Because why? Who has to come? That's why we have different sets of guru who comes and gives this understanding that how to use your free will. Guru na sasya, sajano na sasya, pita na sasya, janine na sasya, daivam na tatsyan, napatista nasyan. So, na muchayad mrityum. So, you do not become a guru if you cannot liberate. You do not become a father if you cannot liberate your sons and children. Do not become mother. Do not become anything. Neither a demigod nor a king or anything. Don't become unless you have the capability of releasing to liberate the people. Such a powerful statement. So Prabhupada educates us. You have free will. Everybody has a free will. But the thing is how to use that free will towards Krishna or away from Krishna. Just like in the few days ago, what was saying, Indradumna Maharaj in the initiation ceremony was saying, right? Bahir Mukha Jiva Krishna Vimukhi Hoya Otito Hoya Tare Odhogati Prithvi Dharatale. Means those Jiva who are Bahir Mukha Krishna Hoya, they are against Krishna, they turn back against Krishna, they fell down in this earth and they are suffering. So we have to come to the stage of surrendering, focusing towards the lotus feet of Krishna. So that's very important for all of us to know. Because free will is one thing. As you are a parents, your children also free will. Oh, I don't want to follow you. Or do you want to study? No, I don't want to study. Then they can say, I don't want to go. People, there are many kids, they go for drug addictions, trafficking, various kinds of crimes, all the things because they are not accepting, following, becoming rebellious from the childhood. When they're becoming rebellious, they're protesting, they're going against the will of the government, they're going against the will of the parents, they're going against the civil laws, etc., etc. So they are misutilizing their free will and they're suffering at the end. What is the end result? When you misutilize, that's why the free will should be utilized in conjunctions, cooperations with the scriptural evidences and the instructions laid out in the Shastras to utilize, to perform our duties and things like that. So we will be in a position to discharge our duties and get the better result. That's what the free will is. So free will can be misutilized. We have to be very careful. But Krishna's point is, as I mentioned to you, Nishchitam matam uttamam, matam uttamam. He never said, this is factual. I said so. Oh, matam, my opinion. Now go to the next one. Free will. The impossibility is, likely, click one more. Here, if you see, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled, who strives by appropriate means, is assured of success. That is my opinion. Krishna, in every Bhagavad Gita, if you find 50 plus sloka, he's talking about my opinion. This is just my opinion. Opinion, what does it mean? Opinion, in fact, this is my statement. This is my conclusion. That means you are giving an authoritative value. When you are saying that this is my conclusion, you must eat rasgulla. That's the sweet. Vishwapati Prabhu said, no, you must eat rasgulla. That's the best sweets. Nothing else. No cakes, no dates cake, mango cake, banana cake, lemon cake, or anything. Cheesecake, that's it. But that is your. When you're saying, if you're saying that's the conclusion, the world has to follow, only they have to make rasgulla. But if you say, okay, that's my choice, you like, you can talk to your daughter or your son, somebody says, no, it is just a matter of things. Because by saying that one, you are honoring the free will of that other person. And Krishna being the Supreme Lord, it is impossible for him to interfere in your free will, to inject, and for he can do it. It's not about capability. He is capable of doing anything. But it is impossible for God because he has awarded you, me, and everybody free will. When God gives something, it is for eternal. Remember that. When God gives you something, qualities, blessings, that is not for 2 years. Somebody gives you a job. Oh, I give you a job, but I write down a contract. It's for 2 years, Prabhu. After 2 years, we don't know. Your contract will be over. No. When God gives something, that is for eternity, for ultimate things. So you receive those mercy. That is my opinion. Krishna says, this is my opinion. Now, Prabhupada says, beyond illusion and doubt, the book he has written. Very nice. And also Krishna, Arjuna is saying, Krishna is talking, and he said, do whatever you like. Karisya Vachanam Tava, Arjuna said finally. And then he can go forward on this one. Go to the next one. We talked about debt, right? That God is indebted to someone, he cannot pay the debts. Really? How come he's God? Yeah, oh Prabhu, he has $10 million to pay the debt. He's likely Bill Gates' son, but he cannot. Really? What kind of, he has a multi-billion dollar? Now if you say the God is indebted to somebody, let's read that. That is impossible. Yes. Na parayaham nirabadya samyujam sadhu kritam vibudhaya sapiva yamai vajanu durajjagiha srinikshale sampravishya pratiyata sadhuna. I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service. Even within a lifetime of Brahma, your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. Who is talking? Krishna is speaking to gopis. And can you click one more? purport. It says, this translation, the meanings of this verse are taken from Srila Prabhupada's English rendering of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 4.180. In conclusion, the gopis became eternally glorious by their behavior in the Lord's temporary absence, and the mutual love between them and the Lord was wonderfully enhanced. This is the perfection of Krishna and his loving devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.32-22. So it is impossible for God to pay the debts. Really? Yes, he himself says, it is impossible for me to pay the debts. I'm indebted. So there are impossibilities in God. But that impossibility is not deficient of God. That impossibility glorifies God. Because sometimes you become too big. Oh, it doesn't, it needs to be a little bit off the hook in order to make sure that you are also something different, something this, not a stereotype big guy. So similarly, God is not a stereotype big dominance guy. He has also a lot of impossibilities, just I mentioned to you. Just imagine. But does it mean that he lost his qualities of God? Does it mean that lost his position as a God? Does it mean that he does this? No. It enhances the beauty of the opulence of the absolute truth. That's important. Now I go to the next one. Just like Habir in this is about one thing. Ishvara tadadhineshu. Ishvara tadadhineshu. And it's a sloka. Ishvara tadadhineshu balisheshu dvastaucha. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.246. What is it? Can you bring it from here? Forgot my mind. Ishvara tadadhineshu baliseshu dvisatsu cha. And the last one, 11.2.46. Let me read that. 11.2.46. Did you get the sloka? Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. Iswaretad adhineshu baliseshu disatsucha. Prema maitri kripopeksha ya karoti sa madhyama. Means an intermediate or second class devotee called Madhyama Adhikari offers his love to the Supreme Personality Godhead. He is a sincere friend to all the devotees of the Lord. So shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent and disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality Godhead. But when we are talking about that, there is Uttam Adhikari. Here also goes on Uttam Adhikari. I'm not going to discuss further. So go back to PowerPoint. So here, similarly, we can talk about this is not a position of Madhyama Adhikari. This is a transcendental relationship between Uttam Adhikari. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Antarila 13.86 says, E Runa Sudhita Ami Narimu Tumar Govinda Kahe Jagannath Rakhena Mui Kon Chara. I shall never be able to repay my debt to you. Who is talking? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking to his servant Govinda. What happened is there is one pastimes. There was a female singer in Jagannath Puri. When Mahaprabhu visited Yameshwara Mandir, and after that there is a Ballava garden and Jagannath areas, the garden. A female singer sang a Gujari tune in a very sweet voice. And because the subject was Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda, this song attracted the attention of the entire world. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu happened to hear that song, and he was completely mad in ecstasy. And he jumped into ecstasy and he ran towards where this song is coming. And he was jumping and he wanted to go and embrace that person who is singing. But in the meantime, Govinda, the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, ran also towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then hold Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like this, please do not. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to conscious, why are you blocking me? What happened? Then he was saying, Mahaprabhu, it's a big thing would have been done. You're going to embrace a woman. Oh, I'd have died. You saved my life, because he's a sannyasi. And then he's saying, because you're doing such a small service, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I'm not going to repay my debt to you, Govinda. I shall never be able to repay my debt to you, because you escaped me, you saved me from falling down from the sannyas path. I'm going to touch a woman. How bad it would be. That was the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was telling. And he was going in transcendental consciousness. And he knew Kali Yuga people may also say, Mahaprabhu in the mood of Govinda Baladev, sorry, Jayadev Goswami Govinda, the Gita Govinda, he was singing and dancing and then embraced a woman. Then some sannyasi may do like that. So that's what Govinda went and blocked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to proceed further. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thanked Govinda that you saved me from falling down to the hellish condition of life for a sannyasi to do such kind of behavior. But now my point is not that. My point is God is indebted to that person also. God is indebted to whom? To E Rena Sodhit Nami Narimu Tumar Govinda Kahe Jagannath Rakina. So Jagannath is protecting you. Govinda is saying, I did not do anything. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that I cannot pay the debt towards you. So the debt, God is indebted. It is impossible for God to pay the debts of pure devotees. So what remains for them? God is completely in debt in spiritual world. In Vrindavan, is completely in depth of love. He cannot do anything, cannot do free will, he cannot kill people, he cannot do things. What is there then? Everything is impossible. Now go to the next one. The pattern variations, if you see here, the four aspects I talk about. The depth one I didn't mention here because that is for Uttamadhikari. But this thing we can see, Kanishta and Madhyamadhikari, the Jiva soul. You and me are the Jiva soul. God cannot be a Jiva soul. It is impossible for God to become a Jiva soul. God cannot be in Maya. You and me will be in Maya. God cannot be fallen. Even though Avatara and Avatari and Avatirna, which is the word, descending, that descending is possessing the qualities and descending. That is Avatara. Avatara also falling from the spiritual world. But we also fell from that spiritual identity. We are fallen. God is not fallen. And we are marginal. Tatastha Sakti. And Krishna Shakti Parapascha Chatrajakya Tathapara. So that one. Avidya Sangana Tritya Shakti Uschati. Means these third qualities and the marginal qualities. That is, we are marginal. Krishna can never become marginal. Krishna is always in the internal potency, always in the supreme identity, Swarad. And then eternity, as you said, God, you cannot be killed, and God cannot kill anybody. God cannot kill an ant. That is the real position of this. This is not a possibility. In the material world, we talk about killing. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. Tadatmanam srujamyaham. Why srujamyaham? Paritranaya sadhunam vinasya duskritam. Vinasaya duskritam. For he comes to vinash, to destroy these miscreants, to kill, to annihilate these miscreants. But technically, if you see the qualities of God, there is no death. There is no material conceptions and temporary set of for these people. Free will. God awarded to all beings this free will. So no question of taking away. So your free will remains in the material world, in spiritual world, in heavenly world, in Brahma Loka world, in Satya Loka world, in Patal Loka world, inside the fourth planet, inside the ocean, top of the sky, above the building of the White House, pen and an ant, free will remains same. No enforcement by God. So that's the things which is coming in the opposition. Just like you say, Sapadamulam Bhajata Priyasya. That particular Padamula, when you are really dictating yourself, given up all engagements and only thing you're focusing, then only you will be able to, approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now go to the next one. So aspects of free will, just like, when we are reading or discussing about certain positions, just like we say, Sabda Brahmani Nishnatho Na Nishnayat Pare Yadi Samastasya srama phalo hi adhenam iva rakshitaha. So here if you see the aspects of that is likely the srama phala is all fruitless. Just like many places in Srimad Bhagavatam it says Rati and Shrama and various positions has been described. So now I'm talking about the aspects of free will. The free will here you can see, just like you see have different road, right? You're deciding. You go left, Mayapuri, you go right, Mayapur, which is Navadip Mayapur. And it is up to you. Is anybody telling you? No, you are deciding. Just like in the center, you can see the fish is deciding whether to remain there from one pot to another pot, or they can also come out in the ocean, they can fall into that also. It's up to them because they have also free will. So as I mentioned, a small living entity has also free will. So in that particular sea, we mentioned the different living beings, right from Indra Loka to Indra, as Brahma Samhita mentioned, everyone has the free will. And the aspects of free will is not taken away by God. It is impossible. Not reinforced in a no free will for everybody. No, that's not going to happen. So it is remains same positions. Now going to the next one. Yeah, here. Iti te jnanam akhyatam guhyat guhyataram maya vimshayata sesena yathachasi tatha guru. That means, thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidence and deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. So he's saying deliberations. Then you wish to do whatever you like. Krishna is saying free will. He never said, I am enforcing you to now. No, you have the right to eat meat. You have the right to eat meat, or you have right not to eat meat also. But you chose the path, Prabhritti Marga or Nivritti Marga. You have chosen the path of Nivritti Marga, means detachment. Detachment. So in this same, just like we're mentioning about Sapada Moolam Bhajata Priyasya, we are taking the path of taking to the center of Krishna in these sections here, and then only you can see Dhunoti Sarvam Hridi Sannivisto, because just like Krishna is manifesting in my hearts and your hearts, so similarly he's also giving you the free will whether you get Taktena Bhavasya Parasya Harihi, means in the same sense you can know that Krishna the Hari is developing, opening his heart or not for me or need. That is important. Taktamna Bhavasya Hari Parisha. So it is, free will is very important, because that's what we sing. Sapada Mulam Bhajata. Sapada Mulam. We will take it Priyasya or we will take it Apriyasya. To Sapada Mulam Mayasya. We can take it, or Sapada Mulam Krishnasya. That's the important part to understand. Now I'll go to the next one. The conclusion, yes, 8 o'clock. That's what I promised to you, that I'll finish 8 o'clock and then we can have some open discussion. Conclusion is that to understanding the impossibilities of God, you will be able to know this called today's, the inherent philosophy which I am using is called Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva. Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva is, in essence, the philosophy of Achintya Veda Aveda, or inconceivable oneness and difference, avoids the extremes of Shankara's monistic Advaita Vedanta and Madhava's pure dualism Dvaita. By interpreting the material and spiritual potencies of the Supreme Bhagavan as being the simultaneously one and different with him. Because in Bhagavatam also 12th chapter you can see like Sarva Vedanta Saram Hi Sri Bhagavatam Issate Tad Rasamrita Triptasya Nanyatasya Rati Kwachit. Rati Kwachit, simultaneously one and different. So these are all the conclusion of the Bhagavatam. You can see just like in the same section it is mentioned, Nimnaganam Yatha Ganga. So similarly, in this particular verse, you can also find out that how Achinta Veda Vedanta. Can you click one more? There is one verse I made. So do not become atheist by concluding that impossibility exists in God. Do you become an atheist by knowing that God is God is so much impossibilities, God is this? That's it. I don't want to be theological. I will follow atheism. No. understand the true meaning of the reciprocations of God by knowing this holistic picture of the reciprocations, as I mentioned, the 4 points: Jiva, then eternity, free will, and indebtedness. By knowing that, you'll know. And one more click. Then Achinta Veda Veda Tattva. This is likely coming from the principles of Achinta Veda Veda Tattva, so that we know the impossibilities of God and how these things can be really well understood. Just like you see, finally we need to surrender to the Supreme Lord, even though there is no deficiency in God's standing. In the same section, just like there is a sloka in 12th chapter, Prabhupada always chants that particular sloka, which always remembers God. That is one: Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunnanti Dibbe Stavanti Vede Sangapada Kramapanishta Gayanti Yam Samada Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Prasanti Yam Yogino Dhanavasthitena Manasa Yam Yogino Yastantam Nabidu Sarasragana Jastasmai Namaha. So by doing this one, because who is saying that? Prabhupada is saying always Yam Brahma Varunendra. Means Brahma, Varuna, these people, those demigods are Tubanti Dibya Staver, Dibya Stuti. They are giving offering to whom? To Krishna. And by that one they are giving. So they are, and what more? And all of us, it is an indirect indications for all of us to come to that sense that we glorify the Supreme Lord. And knowing this particular one, the impossibilities of God, does not deter us from not knowing God, rather than we glorify Lord profusely, opulently, sincerely, devotionally. Hare Krishna, Om Tat Sat. Okay. So you can stop the sharing. Now we can go for some question answers if anybody has anything. You're most welcome to unmute yourself, Prabhu. You can unmute them and they will, if there are any questions coming from social media or other places they are monitoring people, you are most welcome to ask also if you're watching online, or not only questions, your reflections, your further inputs, anything I missed it or I might not have spoken well, please fill the gap. People can unmute themselves? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, good, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanvat Pranam, Jai Shri.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
So I really like the class. I like the topic where you mentioned that it is not possible for a person who returns to the spiritual world to return to this material world. 8:15. So as you rightly mentioned, Prabhu, this is the confusion. Then we also read in Prabhupada's books, "Back to Home, Back to Godhead." So if we are originally belong to the spiritual world, how do we come here? Oh, this is a chicken and egg problem. So how do we understand this? Oh.
So your question is, how do you understand the 8:15 and that whoever Krishna is assuring that nobody has gone back, and if you're coming, yes, as I said, that can be complemented with the item which I mentioned about free will, right? Because your free will still remains. Krishna is saying, whoever comes here, he will get chapan bhog in my home. When I'm saying, you will get chapan bhog, you will get good bath, warm water, and all. Now, when you come to my home, you turn on, instead of warm water, no, I want to do cold bath. You did cold bath also. Then you said, no, I don't want chapan bhog. I just take a little khichdi, and or I don't take that one. Something like that, which is going to stop. No, I will be very sorry because I'm offering you so much opulences, but you can still do that. So similarly, the free will is applicable in the spiritual world also. And there are also various verses that we may not be completely in the spiritual sense that go up and down. We may be in the periphery of the spiritual substances, which is likely the Brahma Jyoti. There are existences in the Brahma Jyoti when effulgent, then they manifested, there are certain position. That time, when the activities did not, they may be falling. We do not know the cause of the fall down. Prabhupada, when many times asking, he said that there is no people, neither it is asked to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and neither Chaitanya Mahaprabhu given any answer. In whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, you will not find a question and answer by Ramananda Rai or Sarvamata or any big scholar or Sarup Damodar about Sarup Damodar, how did he fall down? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, no, your millions of births. He said, that's not the point. Aham Brahmasmi, Athata Brahma Jigyasa. I don't care what is my last life. I may be a dog. I may be a king. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in one portion says, even though if I tell you, oh, you are a big king or something, a big rich man, you are the vice president of the United States in last 20 lifetimes ago, and now you're suffering to become not even a corpse. So how will you feel it? But what's the point? By knowing also, can you do anything? Can you go and knock down the White House that, Prabhu, I was in my last life as a vice president, now please allow me? Is it possible? No. So there is no question, even though if somebody gives you an evidence and give you the answer, is not going to help you, not to the situation. But the thing is that we should admit that my free will, no matter what, Mana Krishna Niveshita, whatever it is, Kalevale Kausale Mana Krishna Niveshita. By hook or crook, I bring my mind to Krishna. That's important, because we should not be discouraged. Oh, they fell down, that guy fell down. There is no such proof. There is no such proof from Vaikuntha that so many people fell down, except few examples, which is Jai and Vijay. And that happened by the will of God, not by the will. If God wills something, that can also happen. He can influence the situations. That can also happen. So, but technically, we should be focused that once somebody goes back to Godhead, he's not coming back, except by the will of God.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you very much. So, anybody else has any questions, please? Or reflections? Don't be shy.
I have a question.
Yes, sure.
Thank you for the class. Yep. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead, I said.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the class. First of all, I found it very informative. But one thing I was a little bit confused on the last slide, it stated, don't become an atheist by believing the impossibilities of God. I believe that, I'm not sure if that was the exact verbiage. But the lecture was saying, was kind of going over, what I perceive to be like the limitations of God, is like in saying that, like, God gives us free will. Like I can't, God can't make me turn towards him. You know what I mean? I have to make that decision. So I was a little bit confused in that. Did I eloquently communicate my confusion?
Yes, sure, definitely. Thank you for bringing that, Jacob. Yes, my point which I wanted to share, that don't become atheist means when I am presenting this topic, the impossibilities of God. So don't take this is a limitation or deficiency of God. Rather than understand the higher nature within that impossibility. I give you an example. Maybe you may not be conversant with Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Advait Acharya Thakur had some 100 rupees or something loan. He could not repay back to someone else. So one of his servants, he wrote to the king that Advait Acharya, even though he is an incarnation of God, he has some monetary problem. So what does it mean? It is contradictory. So that means it is not that we should understand that God is deficient of money or deficient of things like that. Rather than he's playing a role in this material world like that, to a Brahmana, a poor Brahmana. So similarly, my point of thing is that even though I'm talking about the Jiva soul or eternity, God cannot kill or things like that, it does not conclude you to become an atheist. Rather than you become a super theist. Become super theist means you develop more love for God by knowing the impossibilities in God. Because if I say God is indebted, oh, God cannot pay the debt. Now, theoretically, you can understand that technically, literally, but you do not take the literal points. You take the sensual, the spiritual dimension of that transactions, what God wants to say. If you conclude, oh, God is indebted, now you talk to a financial loan expert, God is not paying to debt, then how come he's God? No. We understand in higher values by knowing the transcendental law between gopis and Krishna, And nobody, if God cannot repay that service, so he's saying that. So I hope I clarified your point that we can become super theist. We can become supracharged by knowing the impossibilities of God and not be demoralized, rather than feeling more enthusiastic, feeling more, developing more love of God towards him. So there is no limitations, because God has no limitations technically in essence. It's just my own limitations to know or detect or find or understanding that. So I hope I clarified the point that you can become super theist, can become more lovable towards God by knowing the possibilities of God. This is the confidential meaning of the absolute truth. Okay? Hare Krishna. So we have more, I think somebody.
Yeah, this is Ashray Madhav.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Ashray Madhav Das Prabhu.
Yes,
I was just thinking of another example. People frequently bring that example, Krishna in this battle of Mahabharata, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many people, so many Kshatriyas, who are supposed to protect the society, they died in battle of Mahabharata, right? 5,000 years back. And many people bring up this, that Krishna is God. If he wanted, he could have stopped that war, right?
Mm.
And then if he could not have stopped that war, that means, there is some limitation. They bring that example. But we also see there the God was letting the people decide based on the free will. He tried. He went to Karna to convince him, you come to the side of Pandavas, you are not in the right side, just your friendship with Duryodhana is damaging you. He tried to convince him, but he let Karna decide on his free will. He went to Bhishma also. He went to Dronacharya. He went to everyone individually, right, to convince them that, if you, and he went to even Duryodhan also he went, and Duryodhan said that, Krishna, whatever you are saying, everything seems right to me, but that unfortunately I cannot control my senses, basically. I have to have everything. So, and the same thing he also, the lessons he gave to Arjuna, and Arjuna accepted. Arjuna also, he is telling at the end, right, you decide on your free will. I have told you everything. Now you decide on your free will, right, what you are supposed to do. So I was just thinking that it is not exactly what the point you mentioned is, that God also gives us free will. Okay. Of course, there was a higher plan. He had promised to, the Mother Earth, because of the burdens of so many, the demoniac kings who were, running over the earth, killing innocent people. So he had promised to Mother Earth that I will come as Krishna, and I will make sure that I, take all these kings away because they are a burden to you. The whole plan of Kurukshetra was behind that. But then, if we just look at the Kurukshetra, then we can conclude there that, he tried basically, but then he also respected everyone's free will. He respected the free will of Bhishma, he respected the free will of Duryodhana, and they were not good people, basically. I mean, Bhishma was, of course, but I'm talking about Duryodhana, Karna, the kind of acts they did, they were not good people, right? I mean, but he respected their free will. He at the end said that, you decide what you want to do. You want still this battle will happen. Basically.
No, I think I got your point. Yes.
Yeah.
So in essence, very nice reflection. You brought it, but just I wanted to add few four derivatives from that. One is those people who accuse or complain or wish their outcome, because man proposes, God disposes.
Yeah.
People who can propose their outcome that, oh, it should have been like this, it should have been like this. You are not the designer, you are not the architect of this whole world, how the outcome. Prabhupada says, it is the will of God. He decided to bring all the people together in the Kurukshetra to annihilate them in one shot. It is Krishna's desire to bring Jarasandha to accumulate many soldiers to come and attack him, to annihilate him dozens of times. It is his will. So people can say, oh, that could have been avoided, that is your thinking, your wish, or It is not Krishna's wish. What is happening is Krishna's wish. It is happening according to him, because he is the master of this material nature also, and master of the people also. So that is first understanding. Then the second part of this Kurukshetra war, as you are bringing the free will, of course, it is the free will of the people to choose their party, like Karna or whoever it is decided. It is up to the free will. God never interferes in the free will, whether you can be in this side or be on the other side, be on the dharmic side, be on the adharmic side, based on your constitutional position. And we mentioned about all these points, the Jiva soul, the free will, the eternity, and indebtedness. When you understand, in essence, those people who truly understand and appreciates Krishna in all situations, they try to find out that Krishna is never wrong. Krishna cannot be wrong. Krishna cannot do wrong to others. Whatever is happening, good only. If people develop the sense of I and vision in their heart, they are the true lover of God. The time you have a doubt, I have a doubt that certain situation did not happen based on my thing. A doubt could be rectified by proper intelligence, proper association, or by scriptural evidences. But if a doubt again fructifies into hatred towards God, just like in coronavirus time, many people are saying, oh, my lovable is dead. That definitely it is not a good situation. People can talk about that. But God is love. God is beauty. God is power. God is blessings, mercy to everybody. We have to think that way. So there is no question of doubt about it. Only the true seekers, true lovers will find out. Because if I am putting in the such situation, definitely momentarily, I'll be also a little bit reproached and hesitant to appreciate the position of God, and I will also curse, which is naturally. But technically, we should develop a sense of obligations to know that the supremacy and the outcome, what is happening, is by the will of God only. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for bringing one insight. Very good point. Good reflection. So we would like to hear more, Prabhu. If there is any, I think who is monitoring our online media, social media? Any comments?
Hari Bol, Prabhu, this is Vishwapati.
Oh, Vishwapati Prabhu, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. I know regarding free will, Prabhu.
Yes.
You just said Krishna never interfered with our free will. But if you see material father, if he knows that his son is going to make some mistake, and if he come to know in advance, he always give cautions to his son. Hey, you should not do it. So when Krishna come to know that we are misusing our free will, he is sitting in our heart. He knows that I'm going to make a big mistake. But why he not prevent it at the very beginning and not let me not implement that one, my wrong decision or something, So what would be the right?
So Krishna wants you to also act like independent, not like a puppet. Okay.
Okay.
And independently puppet means, I'm giving an example. Kala Krishna Das. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited South India, he took Kala Krishna Das as his servant. So Kala Krishna Das is also a pure devotee. But Kala Krishna Das fell into the victim of the gypsies, the women of Bhattaharis, in one of these places on the tour to South India. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again rescued him, Kala Krishna Das, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought him in back also by next step of amendment, and then they return it. So my point is, being as a super soul, being in everything, he rectified it. He gives chance. Don't think that he doesn't give chance to me and you and all. He gives chance to me 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, maybe 5 times, just like to Sisupal 100 times. He will rectify, he'll give different directions and situations set up so that you are corrected or you are reformed or you are coming to your senses. But if you are not willing, you are adamantly, persistently use the old method, your old bad habits, then Krishna doesn't interfere. He said, Jo hai, wahi hai. Whatever you want, you carry on. So in this context, if you see that it is not Krishna also our well-wisher, benefactor. He also thinks good welfare for all of us. So he knows what is good to be for us. So he gives some situations and he gives some intelligence to us to execute it. but it does not interfere that if you have decided, no, I will do it anyway, then Krishna remains silent, the super soul. Then you become prominent. We should make super soul become prominent in all situations. Let the super soul dictate me, guide me, give this direction, so that we always seek. And it is not so easy to get the directions from super soul. It's not so easy. You can't say that, oh, I'm directed. That's why there is a guru, shastra, and sadhus, and people are there in order to take counseling, take all this stuff to utilize our life, so that you dovetail our consciousness, so that we are not misutilizing our free will, rather than utilizing for Krishna's service. Sevanamukhe Jivade. Swayam eva spurati ada, right? So this is starting with the chanting of the name. Just like Bhagavatam also ends that particular verse, which talks about Nama Sankirtanam Yasya. What is that? 1323. Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranasanam. Can you get that from the 12 from Bhagavatam 12 canto 1323, I believe? Yeah. Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranasanam. Sarva Papa Pranasanam means Sarva Papa Pranasanam. Vinasati. Yes, very good. Thank you. Nam Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranasanam. Pranamo Dukkha Samanas Tam Namami Harim Param. That means I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari. The congregational chanting of whose holy names destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances unto whom relieves all material sufferings. So if anything, any problem comes, free will is going, whatever it is going, Nam Sankirtanam Yasya. Just chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You'll be safe. That's very simple.
Okay.
Here, free will, mind, feeling, all the things. Nam Sankirtanam Yasya. Because Sarva Papa Pranasana. It destroys all the Papa. This Bhagavatam talks about it.
Okay.
Very
Thank
good.
you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. So let's give some time to anyone who is not here in the Zoom, but some devotees who are watching Facebook, YouTube, or other channel.
Yes, Bali Prabhu. So today I am watching that. This
Okay.
is Ashray Madhav. I do not have any comments there.
Okay. No questions or anything? This is coming.
Yeah, from social media, we don't have anything there. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. Please go ahead.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm thinking about the free will. All these scriptures that we're reading, whether it's Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, all the acharyas we are following, all the songs we are singing, they're all saying that we don't want to go to Vaikuntha. We would rather that get us a chance to serve you in all lifetimes. So lifetime after lifetime, we want to come back. So that is the mood of the gopis also. Mm-hmm. So is that the reason that that people are falling back? I mean, that's not really falling. That is their free will. They want to do it.
No, that is a mood of their love for God. That doesn't qualify them to, just because a desire not to go to Krishna is not likely, kind of a cruel, some kind of cruel master that, okay, you desired, so okay, somebody say, oh, I'm so much of serving, I don't want any bonus, I don't want any, oh, thank you, I wanted to work on Sundays and all. Then the master may say, okay, that's fine, you don't need to work. There is no emotional, the bhava is not there. But this is the devotees of bhava, means Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Jagai Madhai Papistha Mui. I am also more Papistha than from Jagai and Madhai. Please, I am more sinful than Jagai and Madhai. Please put me in the hell. So it is their mood. We cannot consider ourselves. Krishna doesn't consider Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami as Papistha, but they consider themselves, they are the most sinful people. They consider they don't want to go back to God. They will Janme Janme Prabhu say, Divyagyan Hriday Prakasito, Prema Bhakti Janvati, Avidya Vinasajate, Vedegai Jahar Charito. So these are all the mood of the devotees which they are manifesting and telling them that please bestow your mercy. And it is not about the free will, and that is not the qualifications to block someone to go back to Godhead and falling down. Even if you are in the spiritual worlds, Prabhu, I can send me anytime. And Krishna, okay, you said you wanted to go to hell, I am sending it. It's not like that. He's not a cruel master. He's a Bhavagrahi Janardana. He knows every devotee's sentiments. So it is a sentiment, and they are truly aspiring to serve Krishna. in early situations. And Krishna is also a true master. He knows, and he can take them back to Godhead, or he can send them to hell also to preach about the glories of God. Doesn't matter. Thank you, Mataji, for your wonderful insight. Giridhar Prabhu, you had something?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
I just wanted to add one thing, like an easy way, like I found to conceive of it is like a lot of things in bhakti are like a mirror. It's like on one side there's the material world, and once we cross the material conception, we come to a transcendental conception. So on this level, we understand that God is perfect, that God has no limitations, God can do anything. This is an elevation from a materialistic platform. But in one sense, we mirror what we had before on the next level, where we mirror all the, in some sense, when we come to the second platform, we are not very personal anymore. We conceive of God as like some big entity and he's just far away and different. But in the third level, we are able to conceive of God as in a personal relationship. So that's where the idea of rasa would come in, or mellow. So no, I was just thinking that's likely the way to understand how God can have limitations. It's actually a kind of sweetness that's demonstrated by God's ability to maintain limitations, which he does. He could technically overcome those limitations if he wanted to, but he maintains them just to be more lovable to his devotees. So I think maybe that was the answer.
I think you spoke nicely. That's the point, because there are various reciprocation, as you have 5 types of rasas, reciprocations with God, which is Santa rasa, Dasya rasa, Sakya rasa, Vatsalya rasa, and Madhurya rasa. The mellows, 5 kinds of mellows, which is there in relationship with the devotees and God. So in Santa rasa, you can know the God's supremacy and all. Then Dasya rasa also, you can know that there is so beautiful, combinations. And there are different stages of the devotees, which is either Brahma, Paramatmavadi, Bhagavanvadi. Based on that, also their layer of consciousness improves. But ultimately, just as I always say, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, surrender unto me. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is different. Krishna says, I surrender to my devotees. So that is the conclusion. So that means when you advanced, and then Chaitanya Charitamrita is much more. Gopi Bharta Padakamala Dasa Dasana Dasa. Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I don't surrender to. I wanted to even render service to the dog or an ant or some insect from a devotee's, pure devotee's form. I am aspiring to become like that. So the more you really go intense into God consciousness, you will understand the sweetness of God very nicely. Because otherwise, reverence, awe and reverence is nice. God is being this thing happening by God's supremacy, accepting it. It's a very nice statement. But that should not end our goal. Our objective is prema bhakti jaha hoiti, vidya vina. Prema bhakti. We are not aspiring for any kind of bhakti. We are aspiring for Braj bhakti, prema bhakti. And that is possible only through Krishna. Okay? So, I think we are coming closer. Any last question or last comments? Okay, so we'll do a 2 minutes kirtan and then we can end. Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desutarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare Jai Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jai Mahaprabhu Jai Mahaprabhu Jai Mahaprabhu Jai Mahaprabhu Jai Lakshmi Narasimha Jai Lakshmi Narasimha Lakshmi Narasimha Jai Lakshmi Narasimha Jai Jagannatha Jai Jagannatha Jai Baladeva Jai Subhadra Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Gurudev Gurudev Jai Jai Gurudev Jai Jai Gurudev Hari Bol. Please unmute everybody. Say Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namo. Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna everyone.
Balimardana Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Hare
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Nice.
Prabhu, for such a nice, wonderful class.
Thank you everyone. Hare Krishna. May
Hare-
God bless you all and
Thank you,
stay
Prabhu.
safe, stay healthy, and see you all